Okay. So we were just talking about the need to be a social media whore right now in order to do well
Absolutely.
anywhere. We are talking to Jake Noll, my homie, a fucking dope comic from Chicago. Just like, are you born and raised there, my guy?
No, I was born in Champaign-Urbana and grew up in Connecticut, and then moved back there when I was like 18.
Wait. Hold on. So Jake is one of my favorite comedians ever, and I have tried to make this guy my comedy buddy for like years. We met at Big Dad Energy,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh, we're gonna be friends. I had decided that, and that was like, but then like there was a 2 year vetting arc until we got
Well, when I first met you, I was like, I like this dude's energy, and then
yeah.
I think both of us are just, I don't know, we're both probably like standoffish a little
We're
bit, or
both
I am for sure.
melancholy.
Yeah, exactly. We're both like, oh, like in the. That's why I was like, I like this guy. He's not high energy. This guy, they're like
Yeah.
chill and not. Yeah. At a show, people could be very high energy, and I was like, this person is the best.
Yeah, man. I got so annoyed. I don't know what the fuck my pronouns are these days, dude. I was really a they for a long time, and now I'm like, I don't care anymore. But
Yeah.
we're not here to talk about me, dude. You're a man's man.
Sure. I was like, realize I just called you he. That's the only time I've ever called you he
No, but
before.
that's actually you know what's weird? In my inner circle, I actually prefer that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
No, I do.
it started to shift and I was like, oh no, like there's a Jamal in here. In here somewhere.
No, I totally get it. I was just telling my partner about that, how like at work people have been calling me like he, and I like it now that I'm not as passing because I'm like, and they were like, do you think if there's just like a pronoun for a trans man that would be better? And I was like, I think so. But also I don't care. I don't people call me she all the time, and I'm like, if I can get out of the conversation faster, that's fine.
That's how
I
I
don't
feel.
care. I just don't care.
I don't know. Like you know, when you see somebody so clearly and then somebody else is like hitting you with and you're just like, how did you misread the situation so badly? Like, how did that happen?
I think it's people, I don't even know. People are all different generations, tried to be woke in the early 90s and never shifted out of like knowing to call butch women she. And so I just take it as that.
I fuck with that. I fuck
Yeah.
with that. So, okay, wait. You grew up in Connecticut?
Yeah. And not in that part of Connecticut. Do I not give Connecticut vibes?
I didn't fucking know that. Okay, tell me about this shit.
I grew up in Storrs, Connecticut, which is
Yeah.
up towards like the Massachusetts, Rhode Island border. So it's really just like rural New England.
Yeah. So what about that was like, I gotta be a comedian? Because I feel like that's probably the best place to figure that out. But yeah, how did that happen for you? Like, and were you like, at what point did you know that you were queer?
Well, I don't think I understood that trans men like could exist until I
Right.
was already like in my mid 20s. Like I knew that it just didn't occur to me that that was a thing that like I could do. It was being queer was always something that people in cities did.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I had no concept that that was like a thing I could be. I just knew that like nothing felt right. And also like I stopped going to high school after freshman year. Like I just kind of dropped out of everything. And it probably
Yeah.
was partially because I was queer, but I didn't have any understanding of that.
Yeah.
And then I went all the way through art school and then figured it out. Like I didn't even figure it out in art school. I was so deeply closeted.
It's like the gayest thing to do too. Just
I
go
know.
to art
Well, and
school.
going into it, I was like, I will not find out I'm gay in an acting class, which is like the gayest thing you could think.
But like, okay, so you've had like a really fascinating arc to me because that's like Midwest shit.
Hmm.
And then you drop out
Hmm.
and then you end up in art school.
Yeah, I kind of like stayed. I didn't do, there was nothing to do in my town, so I
Yeah.
just um like watched Turner Classic Movies
Yeah.
for like 3 years, and then was like a delinquent and all over the place, and figured out that I loved SNL all the time growing up,
Yeah.
and kind of traced that, and Strangers with Candy I loved, and I traced them back to Chicago, And the closest I could get was New York at that time. So I'd crash at my cousin's place and was working at a convenience store in Connecticut and then taking classes in New York a couple times a week. And then eventually from there, learned Chicago was like more affordable and an easier place to get started. And I went
Yeah.
there.
And it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the heart of improv in so many ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Especially like I started in 2006. And at
Yeah.
that time, the New York like improv and sketch scene was not as robust as it's grown to. Chicago has been around since the 70s or before. So it's like a mecca for sketch and improv for sure.
Yeah. You're fucking good. Like,
Oh, thanks, dude.
yeah. Like, okay. So mostly, so Jake and I, like, we're homies, but we often, like, we try to mic at least like once a week. And that often include that just mainly like we scheme about how to be better comics, and then we sit and then we listen to a lot of dudes who can't afford therapy.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's the best sitting. When Janae and I sit next to each other at a mic, we're like the rudest. We're just like writing notes to each other. It's like so
Yeah.
fucking it's such bad energy, but it's like it's so hard
It's
to get through mics. It's like
yeah,
so
no,
hard.
open mics are the best and the worst. Like you're generous because everybody's working on their shit. So you're always gonna clap. And if somebody is just trying their hardest and the energy is right, you are going to give them a laugh. You like that's just but
Totally.
sometimes you get these not sometimes. I don't think edgelords realize that they are now the status quo again. Like I don't
Oh
know
yeah,
that they know that.
and they have been too. Like I just it's like they've never when I started doing stand up, I switched from sketch to stand up about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And even then like it was like just 9/11 jokes. Like every single person who went up had a 9/11 joke and it was like do you realize that this is not like edgy because everyone's doing it? And like
Like I went to this one and it was so wild. And I was like, oh my God, like I think open mics for some types of dudes is like a fight club for pussies. Like it just felt like
it's so true.
okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I was doing some research on you.
Uh,
Jake, I was out
yeah.
here doing some research on you.
Yeah, what'd you find?
And I found a couple of things. Um, and so there's a singer in
Mhm.
Australia, a musician named whose last name is also Noll, and whose
Mhm.
first name is Shannon,
Mhm.
which was very confusingly once a part of your life.
Yeah, that's my
A-
old name.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and then there was Baron Trump, and somehow all three of you are like embroiled in this scandal. And I was just like, should I just play it? Should I just play?
Go for it, please do.
Okay, I think I need to. Yeah, I'm just gonna play this. I'm just gonna bring this in here. Play this. Because I don't know how else to explain this. Can everybody see this face? Hold on. Actually, you know what? I think you can, but I don't think they can on OBS. I'm gonna make you small for a
Okay.
second, my boy.
Mhm.
So how do this is now everyone's known. I like everything is streamed through OBS, and then I do everything live. So unfortunately, people have had to deal with the fact that I have no idea what I'm doing most of the time, which is hilarious because I move this. Okay, I want to move this view here. Got it. We're locked in. Genius moves. Here we go. Here
Sweet.
we go. I'm sorry. This is going to be such a good time. I'm playing it right now. Here we go.
Hey everybody, it's me, Baron Trump. Please don't make fun of me, but please do come to my show this Saturday, 9:30 p.m. at the Revival Theater in Hyde Park. Everybody's going to be there. My mom Melania, Ben Carson, puppets, maybe even my dad. Probably not my dad. But I'd like to see you there, 9:30 p.m. Revival Theater this Saturday. See you there.
Okay. No, wait. This is actually fucking excellent. This is
Thank you.
actually fucking excellent. Okay, wait. So what happened? What happened?
So this was to give it some context, 2016,
Yeah.
Trump had just been elected for the first time. We weren't really sure what we were dealing with. I was coming off the heels of doing a tour with a podcast that I had run called the Koch brothers mystery show, or I was like a part of writing for, and it was like the Koch brothers as the Hardy Boys solving mysteries.
Yeah.
And so I was like pulling impressions from that, and I was like, I can do a Barron Trump impression, and I'm just going to put up like a live show at a theater in Chicago, and a great way to promote it is to do like this. I did not think that it would hit outside of Chicago. My friend did a great Melania impression at that time, so I was just having like all my friends come on to do impressions, and then the Tribune reached out to me and was like, "Can we do a piece on this?" I was like, "Great promotion,
Yeah. Hell
absolutely."
yeah.
I was like, but I was also like, something kind of feels weird about this because they seem really like careful. They're like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yeah." And at that moment, I knew. I was like, something's gonna hit with this. And I was like, I'm just gonna write it out and see what it is. And it got picked up by the alt-right, which at that time I was not familiar with.
Yeah.
Completely viral, and was like doxxed, like the whole deal for playing Barron Trump in this show that no one came to see on the south side of Chicago. Like, also, those people weren't going to go to the south side of Chicago. Like, there's no way.
They were never.
They were never. And I lived on the west side at that time. They were also never going to come. They doxed me. I was like, they're not coming to this neighborhood. Like,
Yeah.
they're not coming here.
I was like, what made you think of doing fucking Barron Trump? Because that's an excellent choice. And now the way this guy moves, and I mean, he's known in the streaming world, in the manosphere. He's, likes Aiden Ross, like a very alt-right loser, anti-trans, anti-Arab, anti-everything, pretty much. Kind of vibe. And so you were really ahead of the curve in a way. Not necessarily like by but I feel like there was a nobody's off limits kind of energy. And I just think that we lost that somewhere along the line. So what made you think this is a good character for me to play?
Well, it was partially being like, there's no one that I can do. I was pissed because I was like supposed to do impressions for like SNL auditions and stuff like that. And I was like, no one looks like me. And except for this child.
That's
And
so
I was like,
fucking-
fuck them all. I'm going to play this child. I was like, put someone in office who looks like me. I'll play them and tell them I'm playing your fucking kid.
It's so true. Yo. I guess Ellen DeGeneres wasn't.
I could do Ellen, but I needed another impression, so it was going to be a child.
I mean, that is so fucking smart. But I never thought about that. How certain, yeah, you have to embody these characters, and yes, there has to be a universalness to it, but we have to see that character on you. And I think about like Palin and Tina Fey, for example, you know what I mean? Or like, I mean, that's one of the most iconic kind of impressions, but then Will Ferrell, right?
Right. Like, yeah.
So yeah, how did that go? Like, how did this like sudden rush of vitriol and virality, like was it helpful to your career? Did it like mess with you inside? What happened?
I think it just really clarified for me what my sort of willingness to like where I was willing to go with stuff. I actually stopped responding to like press reaching out to me because I didn't want it to get bigger.
Yeah.
And also like I will say a lot of people who were like in whatever, like the liberal camp were also upset with me because they're like, you're going to hurt this child. And part of me was like, I actually don't want it to get back to him.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, if it gets big enough, it will. And then that kind of, and I was also like, I don't want to get known for this. I'm not going to die on this hill, but it is good to know how easy it is to get under their skin.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm trying to think of like, it was Janet Reno. That's who Will Ferrell played.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah.
And there was like, I like that in improv, it's always been super gender fluid, but it's really interesting. Like you kind of just like like there was an inverse way of looking at it now where it's like, yeah, who can I project onto you? And if I, it's a matter of skill and talent. But yeah, when we stand in front of an audience, right, every single time, there's always this dance of how quickly do I make you forget this, or how quickly do I address the thing in the room. Do you feel that? I mean, you're seasoned. Like, I learn from you every time we get up on the stage. Every time I watch you, I learn from you. I love like just seeing you up there. You have no fear. You have no fucking fear, and that's not how a lot of trans people are spoken about these days. And I'm not like, I know us to be a very fearless people, but a lot of the rhetoric online, including trans folks right now, are saying I don't feel like I can this and that. And, I have some controversial stuff about pronouns and stuff, but at the end of the day, I love our folks. And so what was that process like for you, being somebody that people can't immediately project whatever they want to on a stage?
I think I was helped by the fact that when I started doing comedy, I didn't know any other trans people doing comedy. And so like in the beginning, it was even before there were like stereotypes about non-binary people.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like had to I had to either I did start out, I mean, I had a lot of like lesbian jokes and a lot of looks likes jokes, and I got tired of them. So I go back and forth between doing it or not. But I don't know. I think it just forced me to associate with other comedians and not have like an insular group. And that really helped because I started focusing it on like I'm a comedian, not like I'm a trans comedian.
Yeah. I fuck with that.
Yeah.
And when you started your stand-up career, right? You're training in improv, all these things. Did you transition in the middle of that? And what did that do?
Yeah, well, I started doing stand-up because I actually thought that I could not be queer and do improv, which is kind of silly, but also like at that time it was like uh 8 people on a team, 6 of them dudes,
Right.
2 of them women that the dudes want to fuck. Like, I was like, there's no place for me there.
Yeah.
And so I left that world in part to have a voice as I was like coming out as gay.
Yeah.
And I knew I was trans at that time, but over the course of doing stand-up, I like slowly incorporated gender into it. And I didn't start physically transitioning until probably 5 years into stand-up. And then, yeah, it was like after the pandemic is when I like really visibly was like seen as male sometimes.
Did that change it? Like, what did I'm asking questions where I kind of like feel like I know, but I'm like figuring out how to be normal because I'm like, I just want to be with my homies.
No,
But
I mean, I think it's
yeah.
it's like hard. I mean, I would say like I have friends who like hold me accountable and are like, you're getting too in your thoughts, you're getting too like in your head about being queer in this space, and they're all like cis people, and it really pisses me off and annoys me, but I actually appreciate it because I remember that like everyone comes in with weird struggles into this, and we all have to like navigate how an audience sees us. And so it's all just like we're actually all freaks and weirdos who do comedy, or we should be, unless you're Matt Rife. But like
right. And he started out a twink, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
a little goofy looking twink, but he stuck it through. Got a little work done. You know what I'm saying?
This is like the first time I've ever seen an era of like hot stand-ups, and it's so bizarre. Like, what is happening? Why do we have hot stand-ups? There's so many of them. Everyone's getting fit, everyone's getting work done. Like, there's like a long history of hot people not being funny. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and then you become hot because you're so fucking talented.
Yeah.
But it's true, it's so okay. I was gonna talk shit, but then I also know that I'm somebody that gets thrown into that category, or it's just like, but I'm like, I'm niche hot. Like I feel like I'm very niche hot.
I'm talking there's a lot of straight white hot stand-ups.
Yeah, exactly.
There.
Like I don't get on the stage and immediately everyone's like, oh yeah. That person's distractingly hot. Mostly they're like, what is it? Like, what?
So yeah, you're starting. I mean, it's like as soon as you're not like just like a straight white dude on stage, or like, I mean, just a straight dude in general on stage, because people are used to seeing straight dudes on stage.
Yeah.
They're like, what? Like even like a cis woman has to address that she's a woman.
It's right.
Ridiculous.
That's actually so. Oh fuck yeah, that's actually so true. You have to kind of immediately, but I'm this kind of woman, right? Mm-hmm. Like you get in, you're like, I'm the astrology kind of woman, or I'm the single kind of woman, or I'm the mom kind of woman, and I think the more seasoned comics, there's not that they immediately drop you into experiences that, and then, you know, you can glean what you want from that, but they just sort of throw you in. And I've seen you do that. I do think sometimes I'm still on the stage where I want to disarm the audience. And I don't feel that way when I'm on like a protest line or something like that, or if I'm doing a speech at a like I'm used to that. But with comedy, I do some. The only time I had to drop that was when I was in Edinburgh, and for that month, and it was the worst. It was the worst, best experience. I was doing a show every single day, multiple shows a day. And it was like a training camp, and nobody could make them laugh. Like American stand-ups were having the worst time. And
Jeez. Is it because in Europe and like especially up towards like whatever the UK area, people are much more like storytelling stand-up based, it seems.
it's like storytelling stand-up, and then American comedy is very direct. It's like right and in your face, on the nose. It's abrasive. We talk about class, we talk about race, and we talk about gender very, very directly. And so for one, I think on the other side, they don't laugh quite as much. It's not boisterous. They're actually enjoying the show, but you're not getting the same kind of openness and laughter. It's more like and for those who are just listening, I'm doing that like weird white people smile when you make eye contact with a random white in the street, which is, it's just like a little, the corner, like the corners lift slightly and the lips get you don't know.
Okay, can we talk about how like that's a lot of LA comedy too? Like I just realized what happens in LA because LA is so bizarre. The rooms here are like so weird. It's like uncanny.
Yeah,
And
it's like like I definitely want to hit the New York scene. But you know, I'm in a do-rag and I'm in a place where like diversity in fucking Scotland is like what color, you know, girls are dyeing their hair. Like, so
yeah.
But
we're in like 90s teen movie diversity levels.
And it's like cool, and it's super goth out there, but it was very much like it was regional humor did really well, and then dialectic or like dialect humor did really well. And you could talk about things sideways. So I could say, let's say I was trying to say, I was making a race joke, a joke that would play really well. There would be like me saying how my mom named me Janaea. No, my mom named me Janet because she wanted me to fit in, but she forgot that like the sing Ami Pori Core is like the giveaway, and they would like crack up at that. And I'd be sitting there at the side being like, what? Like, that would be like, yeah, like I bled for this joke that I have. And it's like
interesting.
Yeah,
that's such because it's like it's like stuff that here is like just sort of like already we're like, okay, yeah, for sure, of course, and they were like dying at it.
Yeah, like what feels, and I will say the jokes there, like, you know, and you'll see it in like in the Melbourne Comedy Festival or like Edinburgh Comedy in the UK. It is like higher brow, but it's either highbrow or very lowbrow, and it goes lower than here. Like it's very raunchy, but I don't do that type of humor because I don't know how to yet. But the way that I figured it out was ABBA. That's how I cracked the code. I fucking ended up in that concert, and I felt like I got Stockholm syndrome. And honestly, they fucking slap, but I didn't know that they slapped. And so when I started talking about ABBA, that was me learning to just disarm them, not by trying to explain what I was, but just dropping them into an experience that I had. And then suddenly I'm relatable. And because the do-rag, like I think I've told folks this story already, but on the show, but I would literally have a bunch of like older, like Edinburgh is an older city, and they take care of their like older generations really beautifully, and I really appreciated that. And I prefer older people, to be honest with you. It's just far more interesting.
Yeah.
Better haircuts, better scarves,
better footwear.
I mean, you're spitting right now.
Yeah.
But they would come over to me and like touch me on my shoulder really like gently and lean in and be like, "You are so stunning." I was just like, was I funny? Bitch, was I funny? like they couldn't get over it. It's like, what a strange looking creature. I love it.
So they were stuck they couldn't even get past looking at you. Like,
it was just too much. It was like, So that was a fucking big moment for me. A learning curve where I was like, oh, I don't need to. Funny is funny. And if the job is to get fun, because I'm not gonna lie, like we all felt pissed off that first night, especially. We're just like, we're fun. Somebody literally said, so the way that comedy works is that we tell jokes and then you guys laugh at them.
Yeah. They were like,
yeah, and that somebody was me. I just want to be really clear. Like, I was the one who said that. And I was the fourth person, so it was the same troop. And I was the fourth, like we had all said a version of that. And then I went back to our trailer that night, but that didn't have electricity. No, it didn't have heat or water. But and I was like, you can never do that again. You can never blame the audience for not getting you. That's on you. And I spent the next 3 fucking weeks pounding the pavement, figuring out how to be funny to everybody. And I'm so grateful. But then you get to LA and where the fuck is the stage time?
It's hard. It's like, cause it is those reps, and like, it is interesting. Cause like, I think too, you like learn something valuable there. It's something that I have to learn over and over, because I still get frustrated. I'm like, fuck this audience.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's also, I've learned that like, you don't know, they might actually be having a good time and they just don't know that they're not responding. And I've had those experiences too, especially with like wealthier white crowds. They don't know that they're not responding.
Yeah. Did you get this too?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I did a show in Santa Barbara and I thought I was going to actually like break, like my brain was going to break. Like I was like, what's happening right now? And afterwards it was like, but again, they were just like, we're so happy to have this zoo exhibit here.
Yeah.
Like of a person who's not wealthy and is different from us. Like we're so happy that we saw this exhibit. It's like, all right. It's such a bizarre feeling. Not that like, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I got to ask your opinion on something. Carla Sofia Gascon. Okay. So she's in a film. She's a trans woman. And she's in a film called Emilia Perez. And it is an Oscar, like a multi, it's a musical. It's in Spanish. It's a multi, like Oscar nominated film. And the people, so it's supposed to be based in Mexico. The people of Mexico do not fuck with it at all. They got so mad. They're like, how do you have everybody in here and not a single Mexican to be found? So they're mad, but they did something really funny. Everybody should go check that out. But the Mexicans, filmmakers did a film as French people with no French people because they didn't, as a rebuke of the fucking film, which is it's so funny.
That's amazing. That is such a long thought out, like, fuck you.
that's the level of petty we should all aspire to. But and then they're angry too. A lot of people are angry because of the quality of the film. And I'm like, okay, this might mean the universe is healing, because we're just like, the film is bad and not so much caring that a trans woman is involved. But we do have a little gleefulness when there's like a marginalized person that can be taken down in society. So I was like, so that is a separate scandal. The scandal around this person, so she's the star of the film, is that here she is, she's this like white trans woman, heavily tanned, but still like Columbus, I didn't know that nigga was white for a minute when I was younger, because I didn't
really. Oh,
yeah, because when you hear Spanish, I'm like, single digits. You hear Christopher Columbus, that nigga sounds ethnic as hell. Like,
and you're just like, and instead it's the reason is that he actually colonized.
Yes. And so, and then when I hit my little double digits, I was like, okay, I get what happened here. I'm like, I'm on it. So, but she had some really ridiculous tweets. And like, I am anti-cancel culture. I'm like big time anti-cancel culture. Actually, right before we go, is there, as a comedian, because I'm about to read some hilarious tweets, but are certain things off topic? Like, are certain things just things we should never touch?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that that's part of what like made me want to work with you as a comedian is that we have a similar view on like comedy.
Yeah.
And I think it's like as long as you can make it funny and as long as you're like it's like as long as you understand the power of comedy and you're not like it's just a joke, whatever, it's
Yeah.
not going to have any effect. Like, and then turn around and be like, I love George Carlin. And it's like, you know, he had an effect, you dumbass. Like, that's why you like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, no, nothing's off limits.
You've got to, it's got to be funny. It's got to be funny. And to me, it's like the funny is nuanced. The funny understands power dynamics. I don't like rules where it's like comedy is all about, it's, you know, it's not about punching down. It's about punching up. I'm like, that is inherent to the craft. So like even applying a rule like that, it's like sometimes you have to be subversive and then you have to be inversely subversive. I'm going to stop using ridiculous words.
No, it's like,
what the fuck did I just say?
It's like whenever I've taught comedy, I've been like, I want you to come in and talk to them and be like, listen,
Yeah.
Just stop writing me letters after class and saying I'm upset by what this person said. Leave them alone. I don't know, like, and also stop making weird jokes about like things that you don't actually want to joke about. Like it comes off scary.
That's right. I'm like the one area that, you know, I think if I have a rule about is rape jokes. But then I got pushed on that, right? Because now I'm seeing so many comedians who have experienced sexual assault and are making it, you know, a bit on stage that comes from, and you know, like Jessica Kirsten talks about comedy, the best comedy, the truest comedy coming from pain, you know, and I was like, oh, I wasn't even right about that. You know, because the way it's often used is just like really stupid and whack. But I was like, these are people's stories, and they've somehow turned this like very traumatic experience into something funny that challenge. Like, it's like, oh well, you don't want to normalize something like rape, and I'm like, it's already normalized. The problem is like we're no one's ever allowed to fuck. The people who experience it are never allowed to fucking talk about it. It's like this thing that's so heavily stigmatized that you can't mention it. And I know I kind of got off topic here, but I thought I was like, I want to actually pick your brain on that. Like, you know, if nothing is off limits. And so is there a thing too? And I have my own thoughts on this as well, but I'm just like, does that include when we tell material from experiences that are not our own? Because I'm a yes. I'm sorry. I'm a no. I think everything should be on the table. Your job is to make it funny. Do you think that a person who doesn't experience rape can make a good rape joke?
Yeah. I mean, you know, and I think that there's also like conversely, we don't let people who have committed harm and then sort of like figured it out and figured out what caused them to do that and have come out on the other side. We don't let them talk either. And I think that's also valuable. And not that like, it's just very nuanced right now.
Yeah.
But like, I think that everything's on the table. And also it's more comes back to like, when you say, oh, comedy doesn't have any power. And it's like, yes, it does. You just have to understand that when you're telling that joke. And that's why like the flippant rape jokes are not useful. I think that they're dangerous.
They're dangerous. And that's what I think that word flippant is so key, where it's like, you're not even saying anything. Like there's nothing there. And I think when there's nothing to hold on to, that's when you lose the audience. You have to actually give them something substantive, something to like chew on. So imagine that I'm coming in and I'm all like philosophical in my head. And I'm like, oh, here you go, trying to cancel another trans woman. Let's go figure this out. And I read some of these tweets and I was like, oh no, this bitch was on one. and then she wrote those tweets when she was a white guy, which is a thing. I'm like, can we just,
oh no.
Yeah, like, can we just like get more on the shit when it's like, you was a whole nother nigga at a different point in time.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay, so I was like, everybody's probably being so extra. Like, let me go see what she was writing about. And okay, wait. She wrote, how many times will history have to expel the Moors from Spain? And she called Islam a hotbed of infection for humanity that urgently needs to be cured.
What?
She called the COVID-19 vaccine the Chinese vaccine that comes with a mandatory microchip and 2 spring rolls.
Oh, so this isn't even, we're not talking like 12 years ago. We're talking like 4 years ago.
Yeah. And then she goes, and this one is ugly. This one is like particularly gross. She called George Floyd a drug addicted con artist.
Oh,
And I
that
was like,
is,
yeah, no, like she was every angry fucking white dude in the world. Like that's who
mhm.
she was. And then they were different, like I was like, oh damn, that's pretty rough. And then I'm going down and it goes, the controversy could have ended there, but it didn't. And then I kept reading. She was calling different award ceremonies Afro-Korean festivals because there was representation in them.
That is incredible. So she was like, listen, we got one Korean nominated, one Black person nominated. We got an Afro-Korean festival.
And I felt like I should name my audience. This community here. Hold on. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Okay, good. I don't know. I got a weird notification. It was like your mic's weird, and but they've had it with me because I have to take this show at scale, but I have such a hard time consistently making social media content because I want to peel my skin off. But this was a moment where I was like, no, Carla, you need to come onto the show so I can fix this for you. Because this girl was running around doing her own interviews, like outside of the Netflix team. Like I got a friend who's in a high level at Netflix. And he was like telling a mutual of ours that they had to like cut her off because she had dug a hole so deep and was like, she did her own interview. That like, imagine you're doing an Oscar nominated film. You're now suddenly embroiled in a controversy. You're like, I got this shit. And then you don't. And then you genuinely.
Way.
So she goes on and she goes, I am a person of light. I'm a person of light. I wouldn't even hurt a spider. Like nothing. She acknowledged nothing. And then she goes, I can no longer allow this campaign of hate and misinformation to affect me or my family. I'm like, bitch, there's no misinformation. These were your tweets. Like these were quotes, bitch. They're not even tweets. They're quotes from you.
She somehow perfectly encapsulated like how I think all white trans people have to unlearn both white men and women like issues, and she just like encapsulated white men and women in one little conversation there.
How perfect is that joke you just said? That's fucking. She goes, the more you try to sink me, the stronger it will make me. And then the director stopped talking to her, and then, like she got cut out. And she might.
Oh my god!
No, like she did this so bad. And I was like, the thing that made me so angry is that this was, to me, I'm like, bitch, all you needed was to understand, like, just a little bit of accountability, but also, like, this could have been like, yes, I was those angry white guys that kept thinking that something was taken from me and that other people were living this, like, fucking dream or whatever, that I was being denied this. And honestly, I just needed a fucking job. Because my thing is this, I am not. Now there's a call to action for her Oscar to be to be rescinded.
Wow.
And let me ask you before I yap, because I'm yapping way too much. Like, do you agree? Like, because those are some like fucked up. like she even went after the Catholics. I was like, I'm impressed. No. She covered a
Wait a second.
spread.
The Catholics have not been aggressed for like 400 years.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Maybe JFK times, maybe JFK.
Like
but
we be forgetting sometimes. Yeah. So she hit Catholics. She hit Chinese folks, Black folks, Koreans, Africans, Muslims. She hit all of Islam. I'm like, bitch, you covered a wide spread. You cast a net.
Wow.
And so I understand the idea that, like, there has to be some kind of accountability metric. But then I look at it and I'm like, honest to God, like 2 or 3 people saw those tweets. They were like, nobody read them. So when this journalist from Toronto just went and hit translation, just hit the translation button, and all these tweets were there. And they had like 2 to 4 retweets or like likes or whatever. Not even retweets, I think just likes. Do you think that when we like, okay, so the Oscar gets like we rescind, is that something that we should be doing? Does that help correct the course? Like, what do you think about that?
It's so nuanced, and I feel like I don't have a say in it to some extent because
Yeah.
I'm white and this is like race.
Well,
But
no, but this is your people though.
yeah, but yeah, this is our. I mean, this part of me is like, well, yeah, we need to learn a lesson no matter what our gender is.
Yeah.
But and also there's the side of it too where I do see this even with like within like communities and stuff. It's never the cishet white people who are actually fully like taken out, or it rarely is.
Yeah.
For that. But also, I don't know. I mean,
I am just dumping this
so
on you.
nuanced. No, it's I think I do. This is like what I stay up thinking about at night too.
Oh my
like,
God,
bother all my
yes.
friends talking about, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, but it's
Just like,
it's like a thought
oh.
experiment. I'm like, I just need to figure it out. I do
Yeah.
also have like, I think it's bizarre to go back and like dig up people's history if there
Yeah.
hasn't been a question of like, are they currently causing harm? But also with her, it sounds like there might be an issue of like, is she? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because people do change, but this was only 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is concerning. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't care about this. I what do I want to say? That was so ridiculous. I was like, I don't care. I spent 10 minutes describing it. I guess I want to say there's a couple of things, like your race and ability to like weigh in on the situation. That like I'm like it. That should never be for me like part of the conversation. I do feel like we made that a weird thing, and I don't necessarily feel like her race actually matters all that much. In this, like this would be pretty shitty no matter who said it. But what I'm interested in is, what does this do? Right? Like we keep going after these like cultural wins, and I'm using heavy air quotes here, right? So it's like, nope. Yes, I don't think anyone can just run around yapping about whatever they want and saying whatever they want without any kind of consequence. But what was the consequence of her words? If nobody saw them, nobody read them, it had zero measurable impact. Rescinding her Oscar nom could have larger repercussions on our side, not necessarily because, oh, a trans woman got blocked, even though people will forget the context and remember the thing that happened, but more so that we're wasting time on something that to me doesn't fucking matter all that much at all. The cultural debate and the cultural moment matter. I'm learning that now because I'm like I'm a poly guy. I'm like, I got politics. But I'm like, oh, like we're missing, like we have to talk about these cultural moments because that's how people understand politics. But this to me is like, I don't see the point of punishing a person if she can demonstrate some sort of growth, which she's failed to do. I will say she's failed to do it. I still don't think having a call to action is relevant here at all. Because I'm more interested in what does this do for trans folks? And I'm like, you want to go after a shitty white trans woman, just hit Caitlyn Jenner. Like I just.
Yeah, she could be our punching bag for everything.
Yeah, like, fuck. Oh, sorry. She's Caitlyn Jenner.
No, she's the fucking stupid. Oh my God.
Yeah. But when I was reading it, because I came in hot, and I was like, we're probably just being dramatic, and I was like, oh no, this is pretty bad.
It was like, I was like, whoa, like she's also using like she's going way back, like whatever, like her biases are like back into the like medieval times. Like she's really like,
yeah, she covered a spread. And what's interesting is like, I don't care. Like I don't care about her Oscar. I'm with you on that. I'm not interested in digging up people's backstories. And I understand that we want her to be accountable and be like, I said these things and I'm sorry. That is a fair desire. I still,
Mm-hmm.
but if she's not saying those things now,
Mm-hmm.
I I don't see the point. I just don't see the point. Yes, it would be great to hear somebody be like, I'm transformed, I'm different, but what's the point?
There is like a little bit of sort of like we're in dire circumstances and a little bit of like in general, we got to suck it up a little bit because like people are trying to take down like it just online. Like I don't know if you saw Mercury Stardust, like her whole like, and it's all just like it's like yes, I think once a person, especially like a white trans person, reaches a certain level, we're white people, we have a lot of skeletons in our closet, and we're just like I think you can assume that, and like maybe our focus should be on less platforming white trans people. Like I don't know what like. I think we're all kind of like fucked. um,
Honestly, yeah. I mean, one of my favorite things when I was doing all these trainings was like, I know that everyone is afraid of saying the wrong thing, and I'm like, and rest assured, you most assuredly already have. Like you've already said it,
yeah,
and you
it's
didn't
like
die. You didn't
yeah.
die. You're fine. You're good. But it's true. But the thing is, we have all said some of the most ridiculous shit. You could just go back into one of your most contentious relationships, and I'm sure you said some shit that if they put that out there, you'd be like, okay. It's like,
And we're
okay.
so lucky that we're of a generation where like our youngest years were not online. Like these kids are gonna start getting into their 30s and like start we're gonna be like, oh, we have what you put online when you were 7.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
That's so fucking real. And but what's so annoying for me is I was the most militant, like straight and narrow 20 something. Like I was like, I am an organizer and I'm an activist and it's about discipline. Like I'm gonna be a boxer so I can be a weapon. I'm gonna learn Muay Thai so I know how to use my heads, my
yeah,
elbow,
yeah.
my elbows and my knees, and I know how to kick. Like, and it's weird to be having this like shit in my 30s where I'm like, no, no, no. I want to have fun and do weird shit and try drugs and fucking, you know, talk and like yap. But it's like, it's hard letting people into that side because I've been very reclusive and private for so long. Definitely
Mhm.
something I've noticed. And I want to be respectful of your time so we can round out. You know, one of the things I've noticed though in comedy culture is there's either a very relaxed relationship to substances, so like alcohol, drugs, whatever, or there's a
Mhm.
very, very like, this has been my experience, and a lot of comedians I've come across are sober, and it goes
Mhm.
back to Jessica Kirsten talking about a lot of people getting into comedy because of pain and
Mhm.
and needing to grapple with these things. And I think when you have a late night, comedy's fucking late night. Like
Mhm.
when I have a gig, it could be I could have a set at 11 and I'm not going to sleep until 4 for sure.
Mhm.
And then your socializing and networking is a big part of it. You got to be out all the time, and so you have this setup. I mean, you got people who are fucking. None of us are. You don't get on a stage and yap because you're doing well. Like I just
No,
like,
no,
like
that impulse does not happen to people who had like healthy childhoods.
yeah,
Like I don't, it just
yeah, and
doesn't.
like it's a humiliation ritual in a way because like you can be the best comic in the world, you'll still bomb multiple times a week in
Hmm.
wrong audience, right time, right audience, wrong you. It doesn't really matter. Just as part of the process. So you're getting up there, and it's just like you got trauma, a lot of mental illness, lack of restraint, and
Hmm.
impulsivity because that's a huge part of what it takes to be good on stage, to command that kind of attention. um and late night culture, you're going to have a lot of substance abuse, and I realize a lot of comedians talk about sobriety and what it was, what that experience and journey has been like, and I know that that's something that you have some experience with, and so
Hmm.
what was that like, and has comedy changed for you as somebody who is sober?
Yeah. Well, I want to say first of all too that a huge part of comedy, I think this wraps up a lot of what we were talking about before too, is getting comfortable with failure and almost
Mm,
loving, like learning to really actually seek and love failure because that's the
yeah.
only way you're going to find what works because it's always right on that edge of success and failure are the funniest jokes.
Hmm.
And so you fail a lot, and part of like for me dampening that failure was substances, I think, and it helps like soften the blow of failure. Because
Yeah.
if you bomb drunk, you're less likely to remember it.
Yeah.
But you're also less likely to grow from it. And I think that that's like in sobriety, in comedy or life, what I've learned is like that having to experience it fully
Yeah.
is going to give you better results. And I'm coming up on 10 years sober, but like, uh, I mean, the addict came before the comedy did for sure. Comedy facilitated the addict. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, these people use like I do. Let me go hang out with them. I'm
Yeah.
18.
Yeah.
I'm 18 and these 30-year-olds will let me stay at a bar with them till 5 a.m. Great. This
Yeah.
seems
Yeah. Yeah.
healthy. Like, yeah. So it's definitely, it helps comedy. And it took another like alcoholic comedian to say, no, I'm better when I'm sober, for me to be like, oh wait, maybe I would be better sober.
Yeah.
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 So yeah.
I heard Steve O say something really that's so I'm like, here's a quote from Steve O after your after your profound thoughts. But he's
Honestly, get him. I love that
guy. He said that sobriety is the only type of illness where you don't come out where you were, you come out better than where you were. Because it's and people are avoidant. We're avoidant of pain. My issue has actually been that I rush towards it because I'm so certain that it's coming. That I'm like, oh, I'll get on the fucking stage right now and I'll raw dog this shit or whatever. And taking a shot of tequila is something that has become part of my comedy ritual, but I just, it's so weird. You romanticize this idea of recklessness and of completely letting go. And, because I'm a literary nerd, I'll be like, well, Hemingway was an alcoholic and so was Baldwin. So maybe, but it's like, yeah, we romanticize the things that we have. We romanticize the person we want to be. And so it's like, yes, I want to be the person. I'm going to drink because I want to be a person who's not injured by failure. And I'm like, I would, this thing, if I take this shot of tequila, I'm a person that is more like at ease or more loose. Yeah. And I recently just was like, I want to enjoy the tequila. I don't want it to be part of a process for me. So I was like, I started to go on stage like without it. And I was weird. Like my oral points were fucking low. And I had to work harder to get there. And now I just know where to start. Like I just got to start in that mischievous kind of silly place. But I had to it was really weird because I was like, here I am. And I'm somebody who very much is very much the opposite. I've been so controlled that my habits have been the healthier kind of addictions, which is work. I'm 100% addicted to fucking work. But nobody tells you to check that shit.
Especially not in comedy. I mean, that's one that I think is even less checked than the substance abuse in this community. But I mean, I don't know. I will say like, I would not have stopped drinking if the bad times didn't start to outweigh the good times, because it was super fun. And I have a lot of really fun war stories that I'm glad I have, but also like, I don't regret any of it, except for parts where I hurt people, and that was the thing. I couldn't control that part.
That's right. And that's it. I mean, it always stems from like wanting to like injure or avoid some part of ourselves. And then there's just this fucking ricochet. And then you're looking at everybody around you and you're like, oh my God, are these friends or enablers? And how do you navigate that fucking shift? Here's a really awkward segue.
Let's do it. Because also, like, I feel like I've been talking equally to you and the cupcake behind you this whole time. I realized I've been making eye contact with the cupcake.
I'm in Costco because I found out about Costco. I'm like, what the fuck? It's an amazing place that everybody knew about, but me really. And I went in there and I saw this fucking thing and I'm like, this is so stupid. Because everything's big there. And then I picked it up and I hugged it. And I was like, holy fucking shit. This is the best feeling in the world. The cupcake's name is Deirdre, which is a social worker's name.
I love sweet Deirdre. She's a social worker cupcake. Honestly,
Look how happy
I've-
she looks.
that's a great representation of like a good social worker there.
And I've had so many fucking caseworkers in my time. Like I'm just
Yeah.
I'm like, this feels really normal to me. Put a little cardigan on her. It's game over. It's game
Oh
over.
yeah. She comes. We're checking on you this week. How you doing?
Yeah, I always say like, and if I ever any woman I ever date, like I'm like, don't wear cardigans. Retire the cardigans. You will look like my social worker. You look like my caseworker.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna like here's where I'll wrap. So Jake and I are on this fucking journey. We got a show that's coming up in LA called Shoplifters. It's pretty gangster. We're all about petty crime. Fuck the petty bourgeoisie. Even though I did tell everyone the episode ago to sell out. I'm like, next time if the opportunity comes,
Well, yeah.
sell out,
Sell
go.
out, but also fill your pockets on the way. Like,
Yeah, like get out of here. I didn't know there was going to be such a harsh economic downturn. Get the fuck out. Just take us
Yeah.
with you.
yeah.
But we are part of this like cadre of, you know, up and coming comedians that I'm just so excited to be a part of. And yeah, so we'll have a show called Shoplifters in LA. But one of the things, and this is me also looking for advice because yeah, like I said, everyone's had it with me. I was reading in this article, and I mean, we know it, right? These days, in order to be the avenues for like being a comedian, like a professional working comedian consistently, they're different, right? There was a point in time when you could, and I'm weird, you know, I'll read, I study, you know, 2 new comedians every 2 weeks, and I read everything they've ever written. I read their books, and you know, I'll watch everything they've ever done, and it's made me smart about
that's incredible. That's like 112 times more homework than any comedian has ever done.
Yeah, like, you know, it'll be like, you know, a Jerry Seinfeld or like a Norm Macdonald or like a Richard Pryor, you know, an Eddie Murphy, and just really understanding it. And like what's clear, and it's interesting because you look at like a Theo Von or a Tom Segura, and they came after the Kingmakers. So like Kevin Hart was really the last one. Because there was a point in time, right? Because comedians were not, it was not a respected profession. We were openers for musicians. Everybody hated us. And there was a time when, you know, Just for Laughs was the kingmaker. And once you got crowned at Just for Laughs, you would get a comedy, you know, central spot or something like that, get paid $20K, which was a lot more back then. And then, you know, do a late night spot and you were crowned, like your career was made. And that is not the path. And it's really interesting hearing like a Tom Segura, because I'll study everybody. And Tom wasn't the strongest comedian in my opinion, but I was fascinated with his journey because he came right after that time where it's like he got the stuff and then nothing happened and his career kind of stagnated. But podcasting, you know, and the same thing could be said of Theo Von. It gave people a sense of who they were and they built their audiences off of that. And now we're in this game where we're a dime a dozen. You have got to make content, and content is king. If you can strike a note, I mean, look at Matt Rife. Don't be mad, though, guys, because I know everybody's mad. My thing is he's the new Dane Cook. And that means that there's going to be a wave of people wanting real comedy, real craft. But like, how do you navigate the need to constantly make and put out comedy more? Like you have to do that more than you can actually work on your craft in order to get the opportunities to work on your craft. So how are you dealing with that as a person who I think straddles both worlds, just like me, where it's like we're on the millennial side, where it's like that fucking shit collapsed as we were coming of age, like that structure with collapse coming of age, but we were early for this new wave of social media content creator comics. How are you navigating that? Because you're fucking talented, my guy. You know?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like very haphazardly. I feel like I fall off it constantly. Like it's all trial and error. And, you know, when I started like comedy and acting, everything was still like in paper form. Like you had to get like a paper breakdown list. Like you would get paper. And then that switched. And then everything switched again. So everything, it's like I feel like if anything, as millennials, we're just like so used to stuff being pulled out from under us.
Yeah.
It's like we're just like, I don't know, nothing's it's not this isn't going to be here tomorrow. I skipped.
Yeah.
Like it's like, I don't know, I'm going to put as much work into this as I can and hope it
Yeah.
sticks, but I know tomorrow like there's going to be a whole other thing. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think now I'm just trying to lean into like what's fun for me, what's sustainable, and uh get playful again. So it's not so like, because even if you learn the rules, they're going to change tomorrow.
They are. That is so fucking real. And you know, I think of like Garofalo and all these comedians that came, you know, Silverman, they were super alt and
Mhm.
women, you know, and
Mhm.
they came after this like Dane Cook wave. You know, they got the attention that they deserved in part because people were desperate for some kind of authenticity.
I actually think that I don't want to. I think that they were before that. I think that they predated Dane Cook.
Oh no,
I'm
they
pretty
did.
sure.
I
Yeah,
just mean
yeah,
there was
yeah.
like
Oh
a
yeah,
yeah, I just mean there was like a resurgence. Like you started to see um, you know, like uh them on television shows, like doing cameos and stuff. As their
yeah.
profiles grew. But no, they I don't mean they came like after him. They were doing their work. And then the attention that he brought to comedy made a different level of spotlight, I think, for comedians that weren't getting that otherwise. But honestly, if I'm
That's
off
so
about
true.
that, tell me.
No, no, I think you're right. I was just like, I get super Virgo all of a sudden on
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
no,
uh,
they were before, but I don't think they were getting the attention that they deserved.
yeah,
But when somebody comes around and is like, "Oh, fucking comedy," it's like when somebody blows up that way. There
yeah,
is this thing where they're introducing a whole new wave of people to a genre that that they weren't interested in before. Like a lot of people don't like comedy, which is very confusing to me because it's very much a black tradition. Like we roast each other constantly. I mean, black people to me are 50% natural comedians.
yeah.
Wasp culture is the real thing that ruins white people. Like it's just like once they get out of waspness, they're so fucking fun. Like
It's yeah. It's
yeah,
like, I mean, it's like stand up is such a black art form too. Like I
yeah,
think that the best white stand-ups have all learned from black stand-ups,
yeah.
and like it's again just like us being like, oh, you know. Let us learn from black people and then not say anything about it. But like it's yeah, like
Yeah,
I
and that's
mean,
it. I'm
yeah.
like, good luck, like pointing at all these people from the Manosphere and being like, these guys are racist. I'm like, they have relationships with black folks, like,
Mhm.
more than the average white person. And yes, it is. It's a very, very male dominated thing, like
Mhm.
supremely male. Um, but you know, if you're funny enough, you break through. All right, here's my last question for you. So, there's different schools of thought in comedy. I'm so curious about yours. Like, you know, you get something like a George Carlin, right? And he was very much like say what you want, but be you know give the audiences what they paid for, right? So
Mhm.
he had this like rule, right, about making sure that they left entertained. But then you have like a Bob Odenkirk, who is like the audience is never right.
Mm.
You know that these that you have to be able to, you know, and you think of his career arc, right? Mr. Show, um, you know, with David Cross. They were just weird and they were alts and just did what they wanted to do. And both of these guys, their comedy instincts are fucking unbelievably sharp. What do you have a philosophy about that, like in terms of holding the line, I guess, between your comedic instincts and giving the audience what they want?
Yeah. I mean, they're just so both so valuable to learn from. And it like I think it like just seeing so many comedians come up, it just comes down to like what do you naturally gravitate towards?
Yeah.
And I think like for me, definitely more towards the Carlin side. Like I'm such a people pleaser. I don't want people to pay for a bad night out. Like, you know, it's like I know you worked hard for that money. Like, and also like I want you to like me. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's fine if you disagree with me and you don't like me, but I want you to have had a good time. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I
Yeah.
guess it's more like that for me personally, but also like I don't like watching shows where people are like, fuck the audience. They bother me, but that's just a
Yeah.
personal opinion. There's nothing wrong with them.
No, and that it's some people like to get beat up. Like
Yeah.
there's always there's a brand of white people and particularly white women that likes black women like just pulling out the whip and just like Google it. Oh, you want to know about racism? Google it. And like, and the woman, the black woman is usually biracial, but the white mom kind, like she's like, I have something to prove. I have like,
I'm so like, there's like 6 months of me during 2020 that's so called out right now that followed all of those accounts. It's like, absolve me of my guilt by yelling at me, please.
Yeah, and meanwhile, my philosophy has very much been like, fuck it. Like, do you want to get down? Like, what do you know? And I'm you know, but it is funny. There's this brand where it's like, and yeah, there are comedians who will give that to you. You'll come for a flogging, and I think that's fine. It's like you should like you get what you pay for, right? And either way, and it's just like one of the things I had to learn was, you know, I yap, I do the professional speaking shit, and the point was to make people feel something or whatever. And I had to learn to be, you're a clown. When you get on stage, you're a fucking clown. The first job is to make people laugh. Like I was like, I want to make people think. That's why I got into comedy. I want to be in the cultural conversations. Like, no, the first thing is to make people laugh. Then you make them think. It's not the other way around. And that was like a big fucking moment for me where I was like, oh, I'm a clown. And it's vulnerable. And I hate that. Like, I fucking hate that.
Yeah.
And then I watch you on stage and you are miming essentially, you know, and you're doing an act out, and that people don't get immediately. And then you commit to the bit, and then they're fucking dying at the end. I'm thinking of you in a dollar bill.
Oh yeah, chasing a dollar bill down the street.
Yeah. And I'm just like, you made it funny. You made like you made a scene and you made it funny, and that takes a lot of, you know, skill, obviously, but the vulnerability thing, and I've learned that's my journey. I fucking hate that word. It's so fucking gay. It's just like
comedy is so gay. It's really gay.
So fucking gay.
It's really gay.
Oh my god! I think
gay.
partly, despite the fact that he's a demon, that's why Trump is so fucking gay, because he's so fucking comedic in everything that he does. If there wasn't like demon energy inside, he would be great. Like, he would be
if he could have just stayed on The Apprentice, hilarious. Like, I mean, he was already doing damage, but like if he could have just stayed there, hilarious.
Oh man. All right. I've taken up enough of your fucking time, Jake. I'm so fucking glad.
Great.
Also, y'all be very grateful because I almost messed up again. And there is somebody who wants to help, a wonderful person named Vicky, and I just have been I'm trying to get the infrastructure for the show right. So Jake really saved my ass today because there might not have been an episode tomorrow. So thank him. He's on TikTok, he's on IG, he's a fucking dope ass comedian and a real fucking good homie. He's somebody you want to watch out for. So this has been Dark Woke. I love y'all. You know it. Get to work. You know it's good. All right. Thanks for coming on, Jake.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're a real one, my nigga.
Yeah.